Let's talk about what just happened. In a single week, the US government blacklisted one of the most safety-focused AI companies in the world, and then signed a deal with its biggest rival to deploy AI models inside classified military networks. That's not a random tech headline. That's a signal. Here's the sequence. Anthropic, a company founded on the promise of building AI responsibly, had already deployed its models across the Department of Defense's classified network. But negotiations over the next phase of its contract broke down. Anthropic wanted explicit assurances: no fully autonomous weapons and no mass surveillance of Americans. The Pentagon wanted the ability to use the models for all lawful use cases. Talks collapsed. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth labeled Anthropic a supply chain risk to national security. That designation is typically reserved for foreign adversaries. The president then directed every federal agency to immediately cease use of Anthropic's technology. Hours later, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman announced that OpenAI had reached an agreement with what he called the Department of War to deploy its models in their classified network. Altman said OpenAI shares the same red lines as Anthropic: no domestic mass surveillance and human responsibility for use of force. He said those principles were written into the agreement. So here's the obvious question. If both companies claim the same red lines, why did one get blacklisted and the other get the deal? That's where this gets interesting. The Pentagon wanted broad lawful usage rights. Anthropic reportedly held firm. OpenAI negotiated and got to yes. Now, I'm not saying OpenAI crossed its own ethical boundaries. According to Altman, the DoD agreed to OpenAI's restrictions and they're embedded in law and policy. But the power dynamic matters. When the federal government signals that refusing certain use cases can get you labeled a national security risk, that changes the incentives for every AI company in America. And that's happening at the exact same time AI just took a massive leap forward. In just the first 2 months of 2026, generative AI went from chatbot to executive assistant to something much more autonomous. NVIDIA's CEO called it the third inflection. These new agentic systems don't just answer questions, they reason, they take tasks. They actually do work. Think about that in a consumer context. An AI that can book your flights, negotiate contracts, analyze documents, move money, monitor systems. Now think about that in a government context. An AI that can monitor communications across massive datasets, flag anomalies in financial transactions, track movement patterns, summarize surveillance feeds, correlate social media with public records, generate risk scores in real time. You don't need a dystopian robot army, you need agents. And while this technological acceleration is happening, the guardrails are wobbling. Anthropic was founded on strict safety pledges. During its fight with the Pentagon, it scrapped its hard commitments and replaced them with non-binding, publicly declared targets. Why? Because competitors were racing ahead without the same restrictions. Researchers at both OpenAI and Anthropic have resigned recently, warning about risks, so the companies are moving faster. The government wants broader use, the market is panicking, and the safety commitments are becoming flexible. That's the context. Now let's talk about surveillance. When people hear government surveillance, they imagine some centralized evil supercomputer. That's not how it works. Surveillance is a stack. First, data collection, cameras, biometric systems, financial records, phone metadata, online activity, sensors everywhere. Second, identification, facial recognition, voice matching, fingerprinting, behavioral signatures. Third, analysis, pattern detection, predictive modeling, anomaly spotting. Fourth, action, flagging accounts, triggering investigations, prioritizing targets, automating responses. AI supercharges step 3. It makes the analysis layer exponentially more powerful and cheaper. The question isn't whether the government already collects data. It does. The question is what happens when that data becomes instantly searchable, cross-referenced, and predictive at scale. Now layer in politics. AI safety is rapidly becoming a 2026 midterm issue. New York State Assemblyman Alex Boris authored the first major AI safety law in the country. He's now running for Congress, and he's facing a $125 million super PAC backed by OpenAI co-founder Greg Brockman, Andreessen Horowitz, and Palantir's Joe Lonsdale. Let that sink in. A 9-figure political machine targeting a lawmaker who pushed for AI safety regulation. Boris says the message is clear: regulate AI and we'll spend millions against you. That's not subtle. So zoom out. You have the Pentagon pushing for broad lawful AI usage, A safety-focused company blacklisted, a rival company securing a deal, agentic AI systems rapidly expanding capabilities, researchers warning about risks, super PACs forming to fight stricter regulations. This isn't just about OpenAI versus Anthropic, this is about who sets the rules for the most powerful technology ever built. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Lawful use is not the same thing as ethical use. Governments pass laws that expand surveillance powers all the time, often in the name of national security. If AI models are allowed for all lawful use cases, then the boundaries are defined by whoever writes the law, and those laws can change. Now, to be fair, OpenAI says it has hard prohibitions on domestic mass surveillance, and that those are embedded in the agreement. That matters. But contracts can be renegotiated, policies can be updated, and political pressure can escalate. Meanwhile, AI capabilities aren't slowing down. Agentic systems are already disrupting industries. Software, legal, insurance, cybersecurity. Markets are selling off because investors know what happens when autonomous digital workers get good enough. Now imagine the state has access to that same capability, not just to chat, but to reason, to execute, to monitor, to coordinate. This doesn't automatically mean dystopia. AI could help detect fraud, prevent cyber attacks, streamline military logistics, and reduce human error. But when speed outpaces governance, risk compounds, and when companies that push hard on safety get sidelined, while companies that negotiate get rewarded, it sends a message to the entire industry. Move fast, compete hard, don't be the bottleneck. So where does that leave you? Because this isn't abstract. You are the dataset, your purchases, your location pings, your search history, your biometric data, your social network, your digital exhaust. The more capable AI becomes, the more valuable that data becomes, and the more tempting it is to analyze it at scale. The debate over AI isn't just about productivity or stock prices or which startup wins. It's about whether the next era of computing becomes a tool for empowerment or an infrastructure for surveillance. Right now, the race is accelerating. The guardrails are being renegotiated. The political money is mobilizing. The government is picking partners. And the question isn't whether AI will change power structures. It already is. The question is whether we build the rules before the systems become too powerful to meaningfully constrain. Because once agentic AI is deeply embedded into classified networks, financial systems, public infrastructure, and political campaigns, it's very hard to unwind. So, the real battle isn't OpenAI versus Anthropic, it's speed versus restraint, innovation versus oversight, security versus liberty, and that battle is happening right now, not in some distant sci-fi future. If this technology is going to watch anyone, it won't be because it suddenly turned evil. It will be because the incentives pushed it there, and incentives are shaped by contracts, politics, money, and fear. The next 2 years are going to determine whether AI becomes the most empowering tool in history, or the most efficient surveillance engine ever built. Pay attention.